Good afternoon, YouTube. Welcome back once again to Fat Cat Collection. Got kind of a shorter video today. This is a product I reviewed in the past by many different companies, and this particular company goes by the name of GHome. Not to be confused with G-Unit, right? So GHome, a GHome store. I'll put the link in the description. You may pop up during the video, but really kind of short and sweet. They were nice enough to collaborate with Fat Cat Collections and send me some of their smart dimmer switches. So this is of course, the dimmer version. They do make this in a standard on-off non-dimming version. I'll be reviewing that in a separate video. In all honesty, I don't really see the point in doing two different videos on this, but I'm going to because that was our agreement. But really, they're the exact same thing. The only difference is one dims and one doesn't. Of course, in order to dim any kind of bulbs, you either have to be standard incandescent or an LED bulb with the dimming capabilities, or even CFL. You can even dim certain CFL bulbs, but in today's day and age, most people are using LED. In all honesty, so what do you get with this? So of course, you get the control, which is one of the most important features that I like in smart switches. Again, I'm just going to show you what it looks like in case you have been living under a rock for the last 10 years and you've never seen a smart switch. And I'm not trying to insult anybody. We all have different, we all discover things at a different rate, right? So if you don't have any smart switches in your home and you're from the old school, right? One thing that I don't like about a lot of smart home tech is that once you start adding, for instance, like I have a lot of these, but just something to think about if you are building a smart home. You know, a lot of people, they get the idea in their head that they want the ability to have all the different color bulbs and, you know, the 8 million different colors you can get out of a standard screw-in bulb, right? Out of a smart bulb like LifeX and Nui and all these different brands that I have, right? That you see in the office right now. But a lot of times people don't really end up using all that. So I would encourage you, if you are in the market to integrate some of the smart home tech into your home, just kind of think kind of carefully about it. It's great to be able to put a bulb in there and change the color. I like that stuff, right? But in all honesty, a lot of that stuff you end up not using, right? I have smart bulbs in the house that I never changed the color on, and so I'm probably going to swap them out for like a standard switch. The nice thing about having a switch is that you get the ability to turn on standard, you know, hardwired, whether it be a switch or a socket that's in the wall, controlled by a wall switch, or let's say you have a fixture, right? It gives you the ability to make that standard device smart. It gives you the ability to set timers, remotely activate it. This is compatible with Google Home and we won't say her name, but the Amazon counterpart to that. And the nice thing about that is there is a feature in the Amazon part that allows you to make your home look like, it uses its algorithm, makes it look like somebody's home even when somebody's not. So it kind of randomly turns on lights different times. And it's just kind of another, again, I talk about layers of security. It's another aspect of that. And this is really nice for that, right? If you can do that with smart bulbs, but what I find annoying is constantly having to use your voice on certain, you know, switches, right, or bulbs, right? Which is great to be able to do that, but for instance, when I come into my office and I want to turn the lights, I can't just press a switch anymore. I either have to use my voice command with the assistant, or I have to go into the app. Now that works fine, don't get me wrong, nothing wrong with that, but sometimes I just like to, for instance in my shower, just walk in and press the switch, turn it up and down. So this gives you the best of both worlds. You just going to get the ability to like change the color and all that stuff, right? And if that's not an issue for you, if that's not something that you're concerned with, this is all you really need. So let me crack open the box. This installs just like a standard wall switch or a standard dimming switch. You know, I think that their companies can do a little better on stuff like this. You know, these are pretty generic. I'm not downplaying the quality of these or the brand in any way. But once you, as I drop everything all over the floor, once you see one, you kind of seen them all. So that's what it looks like, right? So you have a warning label on here, which is, again, if you're not familiar with how to install this stuff, do so at your own risk. I've installed many switches and done a lot of electrical work, so I feel confident doing so. It's not rocket science, there's lots of videos, but again, you want to be safe about stuff like this, and if you do choose to do this, just again, kind of educate yourself. But anyway, if you do, I consider it really easy, and this is basically what you got here. On the back, you have your ground, you have your your hot wire, you have your neutral wire, sorry, and then of course you have your device wire, right? And so that's pretty much it. I'm not going to go into the details of how to install this, just figure it out yourself. But again, you do get a dimmer right here, so you basically just press the switch, turn it on or off, and then once it's on, you'll see an illuminated LED here, and you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 different levels of adjustment. You basically just slide your finger up and down and you adjust the light. Now it is to be noted that if you get a higher wattage bulb, like a dimmable LED bulb that's higher wattage, those step increases in brightness, it's never really super smooth. Just kind of keep that in mind. Sometimes it's really hard to get that exact, brightness. Every switch is a little different. I have not tested these yet, but these are very similar to most of the switches that I've installed. A lot of this stuff does come out of China. It's just branded under different names. So I actually have, it looks identical to this installed in my shower. I love it, works great. And that's really, all I really have to say about it. As far as the price on this, you get a 4-pack for 69 bucks, and they do have a 5% off coupon right now. And it says on 2 select items, so I believe you have to buy a 2-pack on this, or 2 different items. So it could be 2 switches, it could be 2 of the 2-packs for 35 bucks. If you get 1, it's $23. I will state that, for the price on this here, I think for $23 for one switch, or 24 bucks for one switch, is a little steep. I think you can find comparable switches cheaper. Not to downplay them, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you that that there's something really different about this particular brand, because it really is pretty much the same as any other brand out there. Now, one thing I can't tell you is that sometimes in the app, and most of these are the same, but just kind of keep it in mind, in the app you do have the ability on a lot of the switches I've reviewed to be able to adjust the minimum brightness. So which is kind of nice, because if you slide your finger all the way down and you don't set that, you'll just turn the light off. So it's nice to kind of, maybe you have like a certain level of lighting you like to keep just on in your house, right? Like I have a certain level of brightness that it's like what I consider like a chill mode, right? Where when I come in, I just want to swipe down and it goes to the minimum. So it won't, swiping all the way down won't turn it off. Now yours may be a lot higher, so when you swipe down all the way to the bottom, you'll hit that minimum brightness that you've set in the app. Do these do that? I'm not sure. I'll put a comment in the description after I've had a chance to install these. Sometimes when I do videos, I'll get products and I can talk about it, I can share it with you guys and kind of build some brand awareness, which is really the point of these videos. But if I don't have a need for the switch right now, I'm not going to pull a switch out. I have to kind of weigh the agreement, you know what I mean? And it's different for every company, so just kind of keep that in mind. So, but what I encourage you to do, again, if you're in the market for this, click the link in the description. It'll link you right to their page, and you can read about these. Again, 4-pack, 69 bucks. I think that's definitely, a better price if you're going to get these. If you go buying them like one, I think you can do better on price. So if you're going to get the 4-pack, that's what I encourage you to do. And let's face it, you can find, areas in your house where you can use these. Now, if you're in an apartment, I don't know, I guess you can kind of do what you want to do in there, but again, I would take it up to your landlord. Switches aren't the most difficult thing to install, but again, always check with, whoever controls your rules. If you're on your own home, not a problem, right? So it does say here it'll support up to 150 watts of dimmable LED. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you are running a, fixture with maybe 6 or 7 bulbs in it, keep that in mind. Make sure you don't put bulbs that are too high in there. It'll handle 400 watts of incandescent and 100 watt ceiling fans. So my ceiling fan is actually plugged into a smart socket that's plugged into an outlet in the attic. This is something I may use at a later date. It would be really nice to be able to use that slide dimmer to control your ceiling fan. So if you have a 100 watt ceiling fan, feel free to use something like this for your ceiling fan, which is really nice because, again, you can adjust that fan speed without actually having to pull the little rope. This would be great for me because mine's over my bed and me jumping up on top of the bed to reach it. Kind of a pain, right? Not that big a deal, but again, I may hardwire a second box and a second switch into my wall there to have one of these hooked up. I got them, might as well use them. A couple are going to go to my folks' house, and one thing that's really nice about these, and I would encourage you to get these for, if you have your house, let's say you have outdoor security lights, and I don't mean like the big, floodlights. I mean, let's say you have some cans in your overhangs or soffits, maybe you have some outdoor coach lights. These are great because you can set timers. So you can set this to come on or off with dusk to dawn, right? It'll kind of track your location's area. and it'll track when sunset should be, depending on the time of the year, and kind of automatically adjust, kind of like a photoelectric cell, but it does it through the app, and turn your lights on or off at sunrise and sunset, which I use that on my house all the time. It's fantastic. And then of course, let's say you're out and about, right? Let's say there's sometimes, let's say you don't want the really large lights on. Like for instance, my folks have some really big cans in the back, kind of in the overhang, and we don't always turn those on. But if it's nice that if we are out, maybe we stayed out later at a casino or something, we want to add some light. This would be great just to go into the app and click those on, right? So you don't always have to set timers. You can kind of use this, for your own needs, right? Keep in mind, it is a 2.4G spectrum for Wi-Fi. It is not 5G. I don't know of any switches right now that are running 5G. 5G is a less crowded space, but they all work. Again, depending on your access point, depending on your network. If you start adding, let's just so you guys know, if you watch this video and you're like, ooh, I'm going to add, I'm going to order 6 4-packs, and I'm going to put them in every socket in the whole house, or every wall switch in the whole house, and replace them all. Just kind of keep in mind that sometimes with aftermarket routers or access points, you start to develop problems with multiple connections. So make sure, if you do buy a lot of these, and depending on your router, you hook these up and then you notice connections dropping, you might need to upgrade your access point, your Wi-Fi access point. So for me, I use Ubiquiti. Each access point will handle like over 100 concurrent connections. Remember, keep in mind, when you look at brands like ASUS, my experience at ASUS, I have the top of the line ASUS I bought before Ubiquiti, and at like 25 connections, it would start to become unstable. As a router, it works great. As an access point, not so much. So I added that Ubiquiti gear to help the smart home. So just kind of keep that in mind. I hate for you to buy a whole bunch of these and be disappointed. And again, you won't really know that until you actually, start installing these and see where you might develop problems. If you're using like a, like your internet provider, like, Comcast or Xfinity or whatnot, I'm not sure how many concurrent connections their devices can handle. If you do find out and you have 100 devices on one of those, let me know. I'd be curious to know how many you can add on something like that. But I don't know, that's about it. Again, you have the smart home assistant. See if I missed anything. Group control. Sometimes in these, and this is something to think about too, if you are going to add switches, make sure that you try to stick with the same brand. And the reason for that is some of these switches, and I'll have to come back and put a comment in there. I'll probably have that information, I don't know, a couple months. But some of these, it's kind of nice because let's just say that you go with the same brand and you have, for instance, I'm going to use 2 of these in my kitchen. So I have 2 different wall switches in my kitchen. They're both smart, but they're different brands. What I'd like to be able to do is when you turn on one, it automatically sends a signal to the other to turn on. In the app, you can actually link different switches by brand. Again, it's not written in stone here. That's been my experience with a lot of these. I believe this one uses the Smart Life app, I think. And what's cool about that is, let's say you have a switch that's kind of out of the way, right? Give you another example. I know I'm talking a lot like I always do, but this is good information, right? Let's say you have, in my case, I have a grandfather clock in front of the wall switch for some of the kitchen lights, just where I had to put it. And then there's another wall switch when you first enter the kitchen. When I enter the kitchen, I want it to be bright, right? So I'd like to be able to press that one switch near the kitchen door and have it turn on all the lights. Now you can rewire everything, call an electrician, do all that. But with these, you can just add 2 of these, set it to sync in the app, and then press one, it'll turn on both. I believe dimming will also be controlled by that as well, but don't quote me on that. You'll just have to play with it. I use another one of these in my garage. I have a switch that's all the way in the back of the garage for a ceiling can. In the front of the garage, when I walk in, I generally turn on that light. Problem is, if I want light in the back of the garage, I got to walk all the way to the back of the garage and then press that light. I use 2 of these and they're linked. So when I turn on the front switch, it automatically sends a signal to the second switch through the Wi-Fi network and turns on the second. So they act as one light, which is pretty cool. That's about it. Overall, I can't say that this is better than any other brand out there. I can't say that, that this has any more features. I think and I like to do these things or mention these things when companies send me stuff like this. To be competitive in this market, you kind of have to stand out a little bit. And although these are great switches and all these are going to work for your needs, right? I think that a company like this can do better. And I say this because I'm hoping sometimes companies will take what I say, take into account, and actually make those changes. What I'd like to see in a smart switch is something a little bit outside the box, right? Go integrating a nightlight in there. And I know companies do this, but I'm saying as a general rule, do something a little different. You could easily put like a small LED nightlight, glowing blue or something, that'll kind of illuminate the switch. These are illuminated when you turn them on. I believe this is illuminated. Let me see my other one. Yeah, so this is, to the best of my knowledge, green. So in the dark, you'll be able to see, at least there's some kind of illumination. But in my mind, when we associate green, we think is on, right? And I know you can see that it's on. But I would like to see that, be maybe like a nice dim white. Then when you turn it on, it goes green, or red is even a better color. Another thing that I noticed on this that I don't like is if you have a problem, and let's face it, smart home tech develops problems where it needs to be power cycled. This is a no-brainer for me. It pisses me off every time I get a smart switch or an in-wall switch like this. They need to integrate some sort of reboot button, right? Now, this may have it built in the not into the app. They never have it built into the app. It would be really nice to have something on here, a secondary switch. What I found with these is when you press and hold, you reset the switch. Then you got to reconnect to the Wi-Fi. What I'd like to see is some kind of feature on these that you can just power cycle it. Because otherwise, if you have to power cycle it, you'll have to go down to your breaker box and turn off the power to that particular circuit, which is a pain, right? You may have something else plugged into that you don't want to power cycle. For me, my office, right? I don't want to have to, for me to power cycle, just do a simple thing like power cycle a switch, I have to shut down my computer, I have to reset the clocks, right? That kind of stuff. So just something to keep in mind. And then I'd really like to, see something a little bit better with the graphics, maybe something different with the LED. But again, ultimately, I think they can do a little better at making it look a little cooler, but it is functional. The price on a 4-pack is competitive, and it does work. So if you guys have any questions whatsoever, let me know. I'm here to help. I hope that was helpful for somebody. I want to thank GHome for their generosity in sending me this stuff out. And again, guys, have a fantastic evening. Take care.